First contact rebuffed. The United Nations ship emissary hung in space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant light of unfamiliar stars. On the bridge, Commander Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her posture rigid despite the 48 hours she'd spent awake. The ship's crew worked in hushed silence, the gravity of the moment weighing on them all. "Any response yet? Communications?" Reyes asked, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Lieutenant Park shook his head. "Nothing, Commander. We've been broadcasting on all frequencies for 3 days. If they're out there, they're ignoring us." Reyes nodded, unsurprised but disappointed. This wasn't the first attempt at contact, nor would it be the last. Humanity had been sending messages into the void for decades, ever since they'd discovered the ruins on Mars that confirmed they weren't alone in the universe. The artifacts had included star charts, references to a galactic concordat, and enough technological insights to accelerate Earth's development by centuries. "Keep broadcasting," she ordered. "The concordat outpost is supposed to be somewhere in this system. They can't ignore us forever." As if in response to her words, the ship's sensors chirped an alert. "Commander," called the tactical officer, "we have multiple contacts approaching from the far side of the gas giant." Reyes felt her heart rate quicken. "First contact protocol, everyone. Remember your training." The view screen activated, showing 3 vessels approaching. They were beautiful, almost organic in design, with sweeping curves and iridescent hulls that seemed to change color as they moved. "They're hailing us," Park announced, his voice betraying his excitement. On screen, Reyes ordered, straightening her uniform. The image that appeared showed a being with silvery skin and large, multifaceted eyes. Tentacle-like appendages framed a face that was both alien and somehow expressive. "Greetings," Reyes began, following the carefully crafted script. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of Earth, representing the United Nations Space Command. We come in." "We know who you are," the alien interrupted, its voice translated through the ship's computers with a melodic quality. "I am Overseer Zilith of the Galactic Concordat Border Authority. You are in restricted space. Depart immediately." Reyes blinked, thrown off script. "Overseer, we've been attempting contact with the Concordat for years. We've discovered your artifacts on Mars and—" "Yes, an unfortunate oversight. Those monitoring stations should have been removed millennia ago." The alien's appendages rippled in what might have been annoyance. "Your species is not yet ready for integration. Return to your homeworld. Contact will be established when appropriate." When appropriate? Reyes found herself momentarily speechless. "We've developed faster than light travel independently. We've colonized our solar system, by any reasonable metric. You remain primitive," Zilith stated flatly. "Your technology is crude. Your social systems are chaotic. Your biological evolution is incomplete. The Concordat has standards, Commander. You do not meet them." Reyes felt a flush of anger, but maintained her composure. "We're not asking for charity, Overseer. We're offering exchange. Dialogue. We have unique perspectives that could benefit." "All species believe their perspective unique," Zilith interrupted again. "It rarely is. Now, depart. You will be contacted in approximately 300 of your years, when your development has progressed sufficiently." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "They're moving away, Commander," the tactical officer reported quietly. Reyes stared at the empty screen, her mind racing. Years of preparation, the hopes of all humanity, dismissed in a 2-minute conversation. "Orders, Commander," her XO asked. Reyes turned to face her crew. "We return to Earth. The UN Security Council needs to hear about this directly." 3 weeks later, Reyes stood before the assembled Security Council in New York, concluding her report on the disastrous first contact. "In summary," she said, "the Galactic Concordat has deemed humanity unworthy of official recognition or trade. They've ordered us to remain within our solar system and wait for them to decide we're ready." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And how long might that be, Commander?" 300 years, according to the overseer. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Secretary General raised a hand for silence. "What do you recommend, Commander Reyes?" she asked. Reyes had spent the journey home considering this very question. "Madam Secretary, I recommend we stop asking for permission." "Explain," the Russian delegate demanded. "The Concordat has made it clear they don't want us joining their community yet." "Fine. We continue our development independently. We expand our presence in the solar system. We perfect our technologies. And most importantly, we prepare to defend ourselves." "Against the Concordat?" the British representative asked, alarmed. "Against anyone," Reyes replied firmly. "The galaxy isn't the peaceful utopia we hoped for. It's a community with bouncers at the door, deciding who gets in based on criteria we don't fully understand. Until we're invited in, we need to be self-sufficient and secure." The Secretary General nodded slowly. "A prudent approach. But what of the technological gap? You described their ships as far beyond our capabilities." Before Reyes could answer, the doors to the chamber swung open. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, head of the UN Deep Ocean Research Initiative, strode in, flanked by security. "My apologies for the interruption," he said, bowing slightly. "But this cannot wait." The Secretary General frowned but nodded for him to continue. 3 days ago, our research submersible discovered a structure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, Nakamura explained, activating a holographic display. "We believe it's a crashed spacecraft, not of Concordat design. It appears to be at least 100,000 years old." The room erupted in exclamations and questions. The Secretary General had to call for order multiple times. "Are you certain?" Reyes asked, her mind racing with implications. "Completely," Nakamura replied. "And it contains technology far beyond even what you described encountering at the Concordat outpost. We've already recovered data storage devices and begun translation." "So there are other players in the galaxy," the American representative mused. "Players who might not share the Concordat's dismissive view of humanity." "Perhaps," Nakamura said cautiously. "But what's most significant is that this vessel appears to belong to a species the ancient records refer to as the progenitors. And based on our preliminary analysis, the Concordat's technology is merely a pale imitation of what these progenitors achieved." Reyes felt a sudden clarity, a vision of humanity's path forward. "Then we have our answer," she said. "We don't need the Concordat's approval. We have access to technology from a civilization that apparently predates them. We develop it ourselves, on our terms." The Secretary General studied Reyes for a long moment before nodding. "Commander Reyes, I'm promoting you to Admiral effective immediately. You will oversee the new United Nations Advanced Technologies Division. Your mission: ensure humanity takes its place among the stars, invitation or no invitation." As the council erupted in debate, Reyes's mind was already calculating the work ahead. The Concordat had made a critical error. They hadn't merely rejected humanity. They had challenged them. And if there was one constant throughout human history, it was that humanity never backed down from a challenge. The day humanity stopped asking for help had arrived. The day the galaxy would learn to fear them was coming. Silent evolution. 20 years had passed since the Concordat rejected humanity's outstretched hand. Earth had changed profoundly in those 2 decades, transformed by the knowledge gleaned from the progenitor vessel. Cities now stretched skyward in impossible geometries, clean energy flowed abundantly, and humanity's footprint had expanded throughout the solar system and beyond. Admiral Elena Reyes, her hair now streaked with silver, stood in the observation deck of the orbital shipyard, watching as workers in powered exoskeletons applied the final sections of hull plating to humanity's crowning achievement. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" asked Dr. Nakamura, who had joined her at the viewport. The years had bent his frame, but his eyes remained sharp as ever. Reyes nodded. "The UNSC Defiance, our first true warship. Unlike the utilitarian designs of earlier human vessels, the Defiance embodied the hybrid of human innovation and progenitor inspiration. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, with subtle blue energy conduits pulsing beneath the surface. It was smaller than one might expect for a capital ship, emphasizing speed and maneuverability over brute force. "How are the quantum phase drive tests proceeding?" Rise asked, though she already knew the answer. Nothing happened in the Advanced Technologies Division without her knowledge. "Better than expected," Nakamura replied. "The latest simulations suggest we can achieve translation to quantum space for up to 12 light-years per jump. The Concordat ships we observed could manage only 8. Raids allowed herself a small smile. "And the adaptive shielding." "Remarkable," Nakamura said, his voice tinged with awe despite his familiarity with the technology. "It doesn't just block incoming fire. It analyzes the energy signature and adapts in real time. Each attack makes it stronger against similar weapons." "A perfect metaphor for humanity," Rise mused. "We adapt. We learn from adversity." A young lieutenant approached, saluting crisply. "Admiral, the Joint Chiefs are assembled for your briefing. They're awaiting your arrival." Rise nodded. "Tell them I'll be there shortly." After the lieutenant departed, Nakamura turned to her with concern etched on his face. "Are you certain about this course of action, Elena? The Defiance was built for defense. What you're proposing is necessary," Rise completed firmly. "The Concordat made their position clear. They see us as primitives to be ignored until we evolve to their standards. I intend to accelerate their timeline." Nakamura sighed. "Just be careful. We've advanced rapidly, but we still don't fully understand the galactic political landscape." "That's precisely why Defiance needs to deploy," Rise countered. "We need intelligence. We need presence. And yes, we need to make a statement." An hour later, Rise stood before the Joint Chiefs in the secure conference room deep within the lunar military base. Holographic displays showed the Defiance's capabilities, patrol routes, and contingency plans. "Operation Silent Evolution commences in 72 hours, Rise explained. "The Defiance will conduct a series of reconnaissance missions along the edges of Concordat space. We'll gather intelligence on their patrol patterns, defensive capabilities, and political structures." General Santos, representing the UN ground forces, frowned. "And if they detect our presence?" "They won't," Rise replied confidently. "The Defiance's stealth systems are generations beyond anything the Concordat possesses. Based on our analysis of their sensor technology, we'll be completely invisible unless we choose to reveal ourselves." Admiral Zhao of the UN Space Navy leaned forward. "And do you intend to reveal ourselves?" Rise met his gaze steadily. "Only if the tactical situation demands it. This isn't about starting a war, Admiral. It's about understanding the neighborhood we live in. The Concordat has been watching us for millennia. It's time we return the favor." The briefing continued for another hour, covering contingencies and protocols for various scenarios. When it concluded, UN Secretary-General Okafor remained behind as the others filed out. "Walk with me, Elena," she said, gesturing to the viewport corridor that circled the base. They strolled in silence for a moment, watching Earth hang blue and serene against the black void. 20 years, Okafor finally said. 20 years of silence, of building, of preparing. The public knows only that we've made technological leaps. They don't know what's coming. They don't need to," Rise replied. "Not yet. Fear would serve no purpose." Okafor nodded slowly. "I've authorized your operation because I trust your judgment, but I need to know your endgame. What happens after we've gathered this intelligence? What's the next step?" Rise considered her words carefully. "Madam Secretary, the Concordat rejected us because they saw us as primitive, as no threat, as an afterthought. Our goal is to change that perception, not through aggression, but through presence. When they finally deign to contact us again, it will be as equals, not as patrons greeting a client species. And if they take offense, if they see our presence as aggression, then they'll learn what humanity does when threatened, Rice said simply. But I don't believe it will come to that. The progenitor archives suggest the Concordat avoids direct conflict when possible. They prefer diplomacy, negotiation. So do we, Okafor reminded her. Yes, but they need to know we negotiate from strength, not necessity. 3 days later, the Defiance slipped its moorings and accelerated away from Earth, its revolutionary engines leaving no visible exhaust or energy signature. On the bridge, Captain Miguel Alvarez settled into the command chair, surrounded by the best crew humanity could provide. Course laid in, Captain, reported the navigator. First jump will take us to the Epsilon Eridani system. Execute, Alvarez ordered. The stars on the view screen blurred momentarily, then reasserted themselves in a new configuration. The jump had taken less than a second. Jump successful, the navigator confirmed. All systems nominal. For the next month, the Defiance conducted its reconnaissance mission flawlessly. It observed Concordat patrols, monitored communications, and mapped territories. The crew became increasingly confident in their technological superiority. Then, on day 38, everything changed. Captain, called the sensor officer, her voice tense. I'm tracking a distress signal. Non-Concordat frequency, approximately 2 light-years from our position. Alvarez frowned. Source? Unknown, sir, but I'm also detecting weapons fire in the vicinity. Alvarez contacted Admiral Reyes immediately. Her holographic form appeared on the bridge, considering the situation. Investigate, she ordered after a moment, but maintain stealth protocols. Observe only. The Defiance translated to quantum space once more, emerging near a small rocky world orbiting a red dwarf star. The scene before them was chaos. A bulky transport vessel was under attack by 3 sleeker ships. The aggressors' designs were unfamiliar, predatory in appearance. Not Concordat vessels, the tactical officer reported, matching against known profiles. Nothing in our database. The transport is taking heavy damage, reported the sensor officer. Life support failing. I'm reading approximately 40 life forms aboard. Alvarez's jaw tightened. Admiral. Reyes's hologram stood silent for a long moment. The mission parameters were clear. Observe only. But 40 lives hung in the balance. Your discretion, Captain, she finally said. But remember why we're here. Alvarez nodded. Tactical, target the lead aggressor vessel. Minimal power. Let's see what our weapons can do. The Defiance decloaked, its midnight hull suddenly visible against the stars. Before the attackers could react, a precisely targeted beam of coherent energy lanced out, slicing through the lead vessel's engines. The ship immediately lost power, drifting helplessly. The other 2 attackers broke off their assault on the transport, turning to face this new threat. Energy weapons flared, impacting the Defiance's shields. Shield status, Alvarez demanded. Holding at 98%, sir, reported the tactical officer with surprise. The adaptive algorithms are already compensating. Second impact will be even less effective. Target their weapons systems, Alvarez ordered. Disable, don't destroy. 2 more precision strikes left the attacking vessels powerless, floating in space. The transport is hailing us, reported the communications officer. The view screen activated to show a reptilian being with iridescent scales and 4 arms. Unknown vessel, we owe you our lives. I am Trade Master Kelax of the Volari Merchant Guild. Who do we thank for our rescue? Alvarez glanced at Reyes's hologram, who gave a subtle nod. I am Captain Alvarez of the UNSC Defiance. We responded to your distress signal. The reptilian's eyes widened. UNSC. You're human. We are, Alvarez confirmed. But how? The Concordat listed your species as pre-spacefaring, restricted to your home system. Alvarez allowed himself a small smile. The Concordat's information is outdated. Within days, news of the encounter spread through non-Concordat space. The Veloxian pirates, notorious for their advanced weapons and brutal efficiency, had been effortlessly disabled by an unknown human vessel. Trade guilds, independent worlds, and even some Concordat member species began quietly seeking information about this mysterious new player in galactic affairs. In her office on Luna, Admiral Reyes received the report with satisfaction. The first piece had been moved on the board. Now it was time to see how the Concordat would respond. The day humanity had stopped asking for help was bearing fruit. The galaxy was beginning to take notice, and soon they would learn to fear. The Hesperidian crisis. The colony world of Hesperide glittered like an emerald against the black canvas of space. Named for the mythological garden, it represented humanity's first successful extrasolar settlement, home to nearly 30,000 colonists. Located 17 light-years from Earth, it had been established in defiance of the Concordat's restrictions, though with sufficient stealth measures to avoid detection. Until now. Alarms blared throughout the colony's central hub as Governor Sophia Chen stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. "Confirm those signatures," she ordered, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. "Confirmed, Governor," replied the defense coordinator. 7 vessels on approach. Configuration matches Skrell Dominion warships. Chen felt a cold weight settle in her chest. The Skrell Dominion, one of the more aggressive member states of the Concordat, had apparently discovered Hesperide, and they hadn't come to welcome humanity to the neighborhood. "Evacuation Protocol Omega," she commanded. "Get everyone to the shelters and send the alert to Earth. Priority Alpha." As colonists hurried to underground bunkers, defensive platforms rose from concealed silos around the settlement. They were advanced by human standards, incorporating progenitor-derived technology, but Chen harbored no illusions about their chances against a Skrell battle group. The first salvo from the alien vessels confirmed her fears. 3 defense platforms vaporized instantly, their shields overwhelmed by the concentrated firepower. The remaining platforms returned fire, scoring hits but causing minimal damage to the attackers. "Governor," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel." The main display activated to show a Skrell commander, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under harsh lighting, compound eyes unreadable. "Human colony," it said through a translator. "You are in violation of Concordat Edict. Your presence in this system is unauthorized. Surrender now and prepare for relocation." Chen straightened her shoulders. "This is Governor Sophia Chen of Hesperide. We claim this world by right of settlement. We have no quarrel with the Skrell Dominion or the Concordat." "Your claims are irrelevant," the Skrell replied. "You were instructed to remain within your home system. You have defied that instruction. There are consequences for such defiance." The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, a new wave of bombardment began, this time targeting the colony's infrastructure. Water reclamation plants, power generators, and agricultural domes erupted in flames. "They're not trying to kill us," Chen realized aloud. "They're making the planet uninhabitable for us, forcing evacuation." The defense coordinator nodded grimly. "Standard Concordat protocol for dealing with unauthorized settlements. They'll relocate survivors back to Earth with a stern warning." Chen's hands balled into fists. "Not if I have anything to say about it." Status of the emergency beacon. Transmitted successfully, if Earth received it. "They received it," Chen said with quiet certainty. "Now we just need to hold out until help arrives." 5 light-years away, Admiral Elena Reyes received the distress call aboard her flagship, the UNSC Vanguard. Unlike the stealth-oriented Defiance, the Vanguard was built for direct confrontation, a massive vessel bristling with weapon systems and carrying a complement of 12 smaller attack craft. "Plot a course for Hesperide," she ordered, her voice like steel. "Maximum speed. Alert the Defiance and the Resolute to converge on those coordinates." "The Skrell Dominion has 7 warships in the system," her XO reminded her. "Even with 3 capital ships, we'll be outnumbered." Reyes's expression was grim. Numbers aren't everything, Commander. Execute the jump. The Vanguard translated to quantum space, followed closely by 2 support vessels. When they emerged near Hesperide 90 minutes later, the situation had deteriorated further. Half the colony was in flames, and the Skrull ships had formed a blockade around the planet. Open a channel, Rice commanded. All frequencies. When the connection was established, she spoke with calm authority. Skrull vessels, this is Admiral Elena Rice of the United Nations Space Command. You are attacking a sovereign human settlement. Cease fire immediately and withdraw from the system. There was a brief pause before the Skrull commander responded. Admiral Rice, you have no authority here. The Concordat has ruled that humanity must remain within their home system until properly evaluated. Your colony is illegal. Your presence is illegal. Our patience with the Concordat's arbitrary restrictions has reached its end, Rice replied coldly. You have one opportunity to withdraw. There will not be a second. The Skrull commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You are outnumbered and outgunned, Admiral. The technology gap between our civilizations is insurmountable. I suggest you return to your homeworld and submit a formal protest through proper channels. Rice terminated the connection with a gesture and turned to her tactical officer. Deploy the Whispers. Throughout the human fleet, launch bays opened to release small, dart-like objects. Each barely larger than a human torso, the Whispers were among humanity's most closely guarded technological developments. Autonomous weapons platforms incorporating phase drive technology on a miniature scale. The Skrull sensors didn't even register the Whispers as they accelerated toward the alien vessels, phasing in and out of normal space to avoid detection. The first sign of their presence came when the lead Skrull warship suddenly lost power, its lights flickering and dying as the Whisper attached to its hull and executed its programmed attack. One by one, the Skrull vessels went dark, their systems compromised by the infiltration devices. No destructive weapons were fired. The Whispers simply shut down each ship's power grid, leaving them drifting helplessly. All Skrull vessels neutralized, reported the tactical officer, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from his voice. Casualties? Rice asked. None, Admiral. The Whispers executed exactly as designed. The Skrull crews are unharmed but contained.